witches.
Hi, hello, and welcome back.
Apparently I had to cough. That was interesting. Um, so it's another cryptid episode, an aquatic cryptid episode. And mine is going to go by very, very quickly, and then Emily's going to talk a lot more than me, probably. But I was super fascinated by this story. And some people say that this one is a hoax because the main source or the main place that you can find information about this cryptid is on an author's website who writes stories about similar monsters. But there are also lots of TikToks and YouTube videos and things like that. So we're going to talk about the Carnival cruise monster, which is called that because the main and most well-known sighting of this monster was from a from the deck of a Carnival cruise ship, which I'll get to that here in a minute. But the description of this monster is it's at least 50 feet long, and this is at least, so they don't think that they saw the whole monster or the whole creature. They think they only saw a portion of it, that only like a portion of it came up out of the water. Um, but the part that they could see was very wide and flat and kind of looked like a giant turtle, except it had like an extremely long neck and head. So like it was just fucking huge. It was black and shiny with leathery skin with like lines on it. And its head was kind of shaped like a crocodile head, is what it was said. Like it was kind of long and like tapered. They couldn't see if it had arms or flippers or a tail or legs or anything like that. But because of the bubbles, the way that the bubbles in the wake was around the creature, they assumed that it had um, both. The ship that they were on, which was the Carnival Breeze, was going about 23 miles per hour, and the animal was like just leisurely swimming beside it and keeping up without like being frantic or anything, which is like really fucking fast for like a gigantic sea creature. There was no no blowhole, so it was not a whale because that's what everybody said. They were like, well, it was just a whale, and they just didn't know what they were looking at. But it was not a whale. And it surfaced and breathed like through its nose, like a crocodile would, with most of its body remaining below the surface. So, a large part of what I'm going to say is a direct quote from this guy because I feel like he says it best. So, this is the most famous sighting of this creature. It says, a few years ago, I worked as a sports and fitness. And by the way, this guy's name is Paul George, and he is a fitness trainer on the Carnival cruise line. A few years ago, I worked as a sports and fitness staff on cruise ships. On my last contract, I was working on the top deck one day on the Carnival Breeze. It was around August or September in 2014. Our home port was Miami, and we were sailing from there towards Mexico. It was early evening, around 7 to 8 p.m., and I was introducing the movie on the big screen. Toward the port side of the ship, I noticed a few people were beginning to talk quite excitedly and gather around each other. They were pointing at something out in the water. I was only a few yards away, so I went to see what the fuss was. When I got amongst the crowd, I looked over and saw what I can only say was an unknown sea creature. It was swimming quite calmly right by the ship's side and was directly beneath where we were looking from deck 12. I think it was curious and checking us out, kind of like dolphins do. I briefly thought it was a whale, but very quickly realized it wasn't. It was black and shiny with what looked like tight, thick, leathery skin. It was quite square at the shoulders, which looked like the main portion we could see. It was big. If I had to guess what was above the water, I'd say it was 50 feet long at least. I'm using the ship's lifeboats as a comparison here. I often saw them by the ship's side, and they are about 30 feet long. Plus, I'm only going off the portion of the animal I saw. The tail, if it had one, never broke the surface. I honestly think there was more to it than we never saw. Um, I never saw the teeth because it was below us and we only saw it from above. As crazy as it seems, I'd say it looked fairly similar to a massive turtle, but with a much bigger head. It was clearly a very powerful creature, and I couldn't get over how it looked. He keeps referring to it as robust, which is interesting description.
Like the creature was robust.
Yeah. I never saw if it had arms or flippers, unfortunately, but it was propelling itself as it was swimming against the current slowly away from us. We watched for about 30 seconds. Because there were small waves, it made it difficult to see very clearly, and it was tough to make out too much detail. All I can say is that I spent the best part of 4 years working on cruise ships and saw many whales, sharks, and other known sea animals. This was nothing like I'd seen before. The group of passengers looked to me to see if I knew what it was, and there was a group of about 10 people and myself. I had to say that I had no idea, and none of them did either. We just watched this animal swim by us as if it was relaxing in the twilight. As we were in the middle of the sea and nobody could get phone reception, I don't think anybody had their phones to record it. I did, though, and it took a couple of pictures, but I lost that phone in one of the ports soon after. To this day, I still don't know what we saw that evening, but we all walked away in agreement that we had witnessed something special. So this author that he was like a whole quote that he sent to this author. And this author that he sent that to then sent him aerial photos of like multiple different species of whales, um, multiple different species of giant like turtles, including the leatherback turtle, which is black with lines on it. And he was like,
Mm-hmm.
maybe that's what you saw, even though it doesn't get near that big. Um, and he said none of those photos resembled what he saw. The closest animal to what he saw was a crocodile, but this animal was way larger than the largest crocodile on record. So um, this was sighted there. That was the most famous sighting. There was also and I'm going to pronounce this horrendously, but the Monongahela incident, where a whaling crew harpooned, killed, and processed a sea serpent measuring over 100 feet in length. And that animal was believed to be sick, and that's how they were able to catch and kill it. The Norwegian cruise line ship near Alaska sighted a large black creature coming out of the water after the ship struck an iceberg in 2022. And then there are like if you go on TikTok and search Carnival cruise ship monster or Carnival cruise monster, there are lots of videos of what could be this. So there are multiple like theories. Well, three main theories. One theory was that it is a plesiosaur, which is a type of dinosaur. It doesn't actually fit with that theory. Are you laughing at the dog or the theory?
Every single time I hear, no, not even that. So to me, it sounded like you started saying like Leo. Say the dinosaur name again.
Plesiosaur?
Plesiosaur. I immediately was starting to like. I heard that you said that, and I was just like, Leoplerodons. They will show you the way.
No.
That's all I could think of when I heard that.
No. But that dinosaur actually doesn't resemble this description at all. So that was ruled out. Um, Another theory that and this is the most popular one with like non-believers, I guess, non-cryptid people, is that it was a saltwater crocodile. But first of all, saltwater crocodiles don't get that big.
I feel like they're
They
too
can,
thick.
yeah,
Like
they
they
so
might
they
get a
can get,
long, but not.
yeah, that wide. Well, and
Yeah,
like they don't even then they don't get that long. They don't get 50 plus feet
yeah,
long.
no.
They get up to like 15, 16 feet. But the other problem with this theory is that those are only found in the ocean around Australia, and this was in the Gulf of Mexico. So that also doesn't work. So
I don't think
the
people
most
understand where crocodiles come from.
no. The most likely candidate, in my opinion, based on the description of the creature and the fact that it was found in the ocean and the ocean is fucking terrifying, is a mosasaur. Which, yes, that is that giant fucking dinosaur that was in the water in Jurassic Park that like came up and ate the other dinosaur. Anyway,
In
it is
Jurassic
a
World,
dinosaur. Yeah, that's what I meant. Jurassic World. Um,
you know what's sad? I've not even watched that, and that's the only reason why I knew it was Jurassic World is because it came out of the water to eat the other dinosaur.
yeah, it's Jurassic World. You're right. I've seen all of them. I've seen the original trilogy way more, but I've seen all of them multiple
Yeah,
times.
I've seen the original, but not the most recent ones.
But yeah, it's a mosasaur. It's like a giant whale crocodile hybrid thing. Um,
It's
and
like
that based on the
megalodon.
description, bigger than that. Megalodon is yeah, it's bigger than that.
Yo, our aquarium has like a megalodon, like jaw, like the size of the jaw. I don't think it's not real, but maybe.
Right.
But it's got like the size of the jaw, and it's got like comparing everything else around it.
Yeah.
Got that stank face.
Because the cats are fighting. I don't know why they're fighting,
No.
but they are. But yeah,
Ah!
that is the most likely theory of all the theories I read because people can decide that like oh dinosaurs are extinct, but like you don't fucking know. There's so much of this
Horseshoe crabs
ocean,
are extinct.
right? And there's so much of this ocean that is undiscovered that we've never been to. You can't possibly know that there are no mosasaurs in there. So fuck you. And that's
Yeah,
what this
honestly
is.
though. The literally horseshoe crabs are ancient
Yeah,
fucking whatever they're called.
yeah. We got
Dinosaurs.
some of those at the aquarium in
Yeah.
Cleveland, maybe.
There's I feel like there's another one that's like
Also,
so common.
if you ever go to an aquarium and they have like a touch tank and you can touch shrimp, it's the most amazing fucking thing ever. They like the shrimp like crawl onto your hands, and maybe it's just me because I have lots of dead skin, but they like were
Oh,
eating the dead skin around my cuticles. It felt
the
so weird. And one of those shrimps was like going to town on my fucking cuticle. Like he was
it's like
like ripping
oh
it
buffet.
there.
It's like okay, this is where it's at. This is the dinner. This is what we've been waiting for. Gents,
Honestly.
tonight we eat like kings.
And like we were thankful we were there on a Friday, so it wasn't busy at all. So like Brittany finally was like, "Can we like move on from the from the strip?" And I was like,
And we're
"No,
like, no,
no."
get a manicure for free. As free as I could get them, but they're for free, damn it. That's so funny. The we have a touch tank at our aquarium, but it's not it's got sharks that are like this big.
Yeah.
I don't remember what kind of sharks they are. They're fully grown though. Um and stingrays.
It had that, but then it also had like in the same room, there was like that where they like swim in the circles so you can reach in and touch them. But then there was also like a smaller touch tank over the side and it had like coral, it had horseshoe crabs, it had
Oh, there's a what are those spiky balls?
yep, anemone, not anemones.
Anemone. I
But
know they're
those
called
things, urchins, sea
anemones.
urchins.
Yes, yeah, sea urchins.
And it had starfish, like it had all these like
Yeah,
little and then shrimp, obviously, because the shrimp were eating my
yeah.
skin.
There's they don't have shrimp, but they also have like a huge tank for stingrays. What else do they have? The one in Tennessee at Ripley's Aquarium, they have one where you could do the you could touch sharks, like the bigger ones, but you could also do jellyfish.
Ooh, no, thank you.
Yeah.
Jellyfish are
Oh my god, it
terrifying.
was so cool. I was like, yes. It's literally like slime. It's so weird. Like, do not let any autistic child put their hand in that tank because as soon as they touch it and they're like slime, they're just gonna grab it because that's all I wanted to do. I saw it, I felt it, and I was like every time I see them on the beach, I literally just want to go.
No.
It's so bad. It's so bad. You tell them. It's so bad.
All right. That's all I've got. That's the Carnival Cruise Monster. Told you it was going to be real
Yay.
fast.
Yeah, about 20 minutes. You're right. You're right. You're right. You're right. Okay. Let me get my snack out of here. Indiana popcorn. A little taste of home.
Ew.
Right. Was like, you're getting Indiana popcorn, a little taste of home. And I was like, well, I literally just want chocolate drizzled popcorn, and that's the
It's
only
because
brand
there's
that
literally
has
nothing else here. That's all we got. We got
right.
corn.
And I was like, and that's the only thing that is chocolate drizzled popcorn over here. So excuse me while I take the only thing over here that I want. Go someplace else with your bullshit. Anyways, okay. So I'm gonna be talking about mermaids because why not? I really like mermaids. Literally, like stupid obsessed. Everything I have is not everything, but a lot of the things I have is mermaid themed. So a lot of people when they think mermaids, they're like, oh, little mermaid, like Ariel themed, which and a lot of like aspects that's true. There's some other ones that are not so true. So like in the Harry Potter world, they are not. They don't look like
No.
that. They are terrifying creatures, with sharp ass teeth. Um, but overall, mermaids are a mythical sea dwelling creature, um, most often described as half, specifically half woman, half fish. So the top of a woman, the bottom of a fishtail. And stories of mermaids have actually been around for thousands of years. In almost every single culture around the world, there is a story of a sea dwelling creature that closely resembles a mermaid. Um, they span cultures across the world, from coastal settlements in Ireland. Aren't they called? What do they call them? Oh no, I was gonna say they're mermaids, but they literally look like seals. They're like seals that
Selkies?
silkies that I was gonna say, oh silkies, but no. Um, to a desert location in South Africa. So like they are all over and all around. And there's actually like a myth of the Norfolk, Virginia mermaids. I didn't want to necessarily talk about that because I don't want to make it about America. I want to make it you know what's really funny? I see what you're doing and I can see the photo. I can't see it, but I saw your camera, so I saw
Look how
it.
close Chaos is laying to him.
Well, he likes to create chaos. It's in his name.
He doesn't usually lay that close to him. So I had to take a picture of it because Brittany was not going to believe me.
Yeah, no. The oh yeah, I was like, I'm not making this about America. Like, we're gonna talk about mermaids in general and like go across
Yeah.
all of the world, um, as quick as we can. So the English word mermaid literally just means sea maid, sea maiden. So Mer or mir, it's a compound of Old English, which is like means sea apparently. And then the maid is a girl or a young woman, which is why you mostly see it as a half woman.
Yeah, because
Um,
isn't MER, isn't that like ocean in French?
I don't know.
I know MAR is ocean in Spanish.
Fuck, I don't know. Let's Google
MER
it. Oh yeah, it
translation.
is.
Yeah.
So it's MERE. Well, I didn't want it in French. Um, so the Old English, it's a compound of Old English. So like
Okay.
lake, pool of water, sea, maritime, sea time
Right.
kind of thing. Um, and that's why a lot of the time you're only going to see women mermaids and not male mermaids. It's not because they don't exist. It's just how thing, the mythological thing happened. So mermaids actually mean different things. So it's kind of like those symbols, the like the symbolism in certain cultures. Some people are like, oh, a black cat, that means bad luck. Other people are like, oh, I saw a raven on my way to work. That means I have good luck coming my way or fortune or whatever. So mermaids actually mean something in certain cultures. So in some of them, it actually signifies life and fertility within the ocean. So if you see mermaids, it just means that like the ocean is thriving essentially. Others believe that she is destructive and actually embodies the destructive nature of water because of like the luring of sailors to their deaths, which is huge in like Greek culture. There's like a whole myth on that. Um, and it also can serve as an omen for like incoming storms or like upcoming disasters. So some cultures will say one thing, other cultures will say another, which is why in parts of the Caribbean, I think it's on Stranger Tides, I think it is. Um, the one was like, I ain't leaving without getting me a kiss. And everyone's like, that's bad omens. It's bad luck. And then other times it's like, oh, it's a mermaid. And there's actually a guy on TikTok. Well, I don't know if he's on TikTok or if he just shared a video to TikTok, but it's a lot of people were sharing videos of like deep sea fishing vessels and like what it's like to be out in the middle of the ocean. They're like, you guys don't realize how dark it is out here. Like it's pitch black. Like no one, you can't see anything out here. And he's like, there's nothing out here with us, but there's something keeping up with our boat. And it's like a shipping vessel kind of thing. It's not a commercial boat. And
Right.
it's on there's like it's on both sides of the boat, and he's like talking about mermaids, and that's what he's thinking. He goes, yeah, it's bad luck, man. Like you guys don't really hear it through the video, but there's a song in the air kind of thing. Like you can hear it, like you can hear like noise in the song. And he's like, it's trying to pull me out, and it ain't working. And it's a black guy, so of course he's like superstitious, and like
Right.
it's a funny video, and you're just like, he thinks it's bad luck.
Right. It might be, you don't know.
Yeah, honestly though. So yeah, there are other cultures, such as the African culture, who actually have mermaids in their area. So there's tales about mythical water spirits called the Mamiwata, which means water as mother or mother of the waters. They are gender fluid, meaning they appear as a man or a woman. Um, so they don't have like a single characteristic to their body. They are worshipped for their benevolence in offering beauty, healing, and wisdom, and as a way to ward off natural disasters, which is so weird not weird. It's not weird at all. But like, you know how water has like all of these healing properties? Everyone's like, drink some water, you'll feel better. And it's like, you do. Your hair's dry, drink water, you need it. Your skin's dry, drink water, you need it. And it's like, I mean, technically it is kind of like a healing property. And it's like, hey, water wards off natural disasters. Hello? It waters your plants. Do you want your veggies? It waters your plants. There's your natural disaster. You're like, no, it's going to die anyways. Doesn't matter what I do. But yeah, so, and with like, the increase of the slave trade and the colonization of those countries, a lot of these stories and the mythological like kind of idea around the water spirits traveled throughout the world. And it actually is a very important connection to the original like African communities and like their like cultural identities. It's still like an important part of like their culture, so that's like really cool to like hear about. um Ancient Greece, as I've already said, have well, in Rome too, because Greece did it first, Rome did it second. um
And literally hit copy and paste.
oh, so like, oh, you have a god of death, so do we, but we're not going to name him Hades, we're going to name him Pluto.
Yeah.
Oh, they're the same planet, it doesn't matter. Anyways, so um so they have sirens and mermaids in ancient Greece and Rome, and Roman mythologies and all of that. So they have the very like typical appearance and character of the European myths that like you think about, like Little Mermaid, basically. Um, but in Greece, sorry, I was trying to think about like how I was gonna. In Greece, they're two different identities. So like they have mermaids and sirens. Um, oh, what is it? So there is actually a folk tale that claims that Alexander the Great's sister was actually transformed into a mermaid after her death, and lived in the Aegean Sea after her passing. And then whenever a ship would pass, um, a figure would ask the sailors, "Is King Alexander alive?" If the ship passengers would answer correctly, declaring he lives and reigns and conquers the world, that person, Thessaloniki, would allow the ship to continue on its journey. And if they did not answer correctly, it would anger her, and she would actually conjure a storm and doom the vessel and the sailors to death at sea. So very similar, very different, which I think it's kind of it's very similar. I actually don't think it happens in the Aegean Sea, although it might. But there's like one where I think it's like a mix between this story and the they're not Titans, but they're like the two like Gorgons, maybe. They're like the water things that like,
Are you talking about Scylla and Charybdis?
yeah. I don't remember what creature like considered they, or like what creature they're considered to be, but I think there's like a folk tale where that story and this story gets like mixed up, and that's kind of like what we see like in cartoons,
Yeah.
because I've honestly never like, there's, and I'm thinking of specifically like It's like some cartoon I've watched, and I see it. I see it in my head. I honestly think it's Hercules, but it's not the same. But I haven't found like the folklore like actually reiterating every single thing. I've just like I can like watch in the episode. It's this and this mixed together. I don't know, but um, Eastern Europe has some too. It's called the Relska, I think it's called Rusalki, Selkie. I mean, so Rusalki is actually often translated as mermaid. Um, the Rusalki are water nymphs of the Slavic mythology. So they are benevolent spirits of fertility and agriculture. But around the 1800s is when they started gaining a more sinister description. So now they are more often believed to be the ghosts of women who died violent deaths by drowning. And in their anger and sorrow, they lure men and children to their watery graves. So very La Llorona based, it
Yeah.
seems like. Um, Ireland have them too. Meros, female Meros. They have beauty and long green hair. I guess that's supposed to resemble the traditional views of mermaids. They also have a counterpart, which is, I guess, the secondary time like we've actually heard of like another counterpart. Um, the male counterpart though is supposed to be considered grotesque, very cruel, and more fish than man. So not
Valid.
even it just flops around. Um, so
I'm just imagining like in Moana when Maui like has the shark
yes,
tail and then he has the shark head. I'm imagining like the females are like the shark tail and the males are the shark head.
and then yeah, yeah. um, and because of the ruthless nature of the male marrow, why the creatures were said to have relationships with humans. Men. Um, Southeast Asia also has stories of their own mermaids. I'm not going to be able to pronounce that, but it looks kind of like it says Savannah, so I'm going to say Savannah Nacha. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's a story of a mermaid princess, which means golden fish. Golden fish in their language. I have no idea. Savannah Numcha. Some.
Okay.
Um, it's an Indian epic poem, basically. It talks about a hero attempting to build a bridge of stone across the sea, and his plans are dampened by this golden fish who has been instructed to prevent the completion of this bridge. They meet and fall in love, and the golden fish ends up helping him finish the path instead. Um, so, because of all of this, the mermaid is now seen as a herald of good luck, and her figure is depicted in charms, streamers, and icons throughout Cambodia, Thailand, and Laos. Um, only a couple of more. And yeah. Um, the Scottish Isles and Scotland, the Selkie. So, Selkie is the Scottish version of a mermaid. It is not necessarily the typical mermaid everybody
Right.
believes, but it's a shape-shifting creature that live as seals while in the sea, but they are humans while on land. So in the Gaelic stories, they are often described as, no, I'm not saying that out loud because I have no idea what that says. Um, I don't speak Gaelic. Gaelic makes no sense. It's just a bunch of letters put together, and then it's sounds I can't pronounce. Um, Maiden of the Sea. They are described as maidens of the sea. In their stories, they are uncertain creatures. There are stories of them tempting or trying to tempt people into the water. Um, There are other stories where they cast off their seal skins, marry humans, and then begin families never to return to the sea again. Um, some Most of these stories end in tragedy, though, where the Selkies do return to the oceans with or without their loved ones. Bum, bum, bum.
I've
You
also
know,
read multiple different versions of stories where like they get betrayed and someone steals their skin to
yeah.
keep them on land, and then they usually end up getting it back. But there's actually an episode of Lost Girl where there's like
Oh,
a strip club basically where the guy has all of their skins in his safe so they can't leave and they have to work for him at his strip club, and it's really gross. But the main character saves them.
yeah. Um, there's there's another thing that it reminds me of. It's I kind of wonder if I know Hans Christian Andersen didn't exactly get Little Mer right? He wrote Little Mermaid, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I know he didn't exactly sit here and be like, "Oh, Little Mermaid's a Silky, let's do this." But I wonder if he kind of got the idea of like taking it off to start a family, to do this, to do that, like from the myth and lore of it. I know like he's a Dane, like he's over there, like,
Well, yeah, and his
but
version she doesn't actually go to land.
I thought she did. I thought she
Or
did because whenever she like was on her feet, it felt like it was
oh, it
excruciating pain.
hurts. Yeah, I think you're right, but she doesn't stay there. Like she
She
comes
doesn't
back.
stay there because
He doesn't love her.
he doesn't love her. He chooses a different prince, like he chooses a princess or somebody over
Yeah.
her. And
And then
for
she turns
her
into
to,
bubbles.
yeah. And it's like if she wants to return to her family, then she's got to kill the prince.
But
I,
she can't because she
yes.
loves him.
But she refuses to do so, so she lives the rest of her life as seafoam.
Yeah.
So next time you're at the ocean and you see seafoam, just think of Ariel. And a lot of people are thinking it's like a euphemism for like his love for a guy in a time
Yeah.
where you couldn't do that. And I was like, oh, tragic. I love it.
Well, that would really explain why all of his stories are so like horrific.
Yeah. Hold on. I'm dealing with the I have a flat tire drama.
But yeah, it could be that could be where he got the idea to have her like go to land was like to shed her sea skin and get human legs. I actually just watched last night while I was working on stuff in my office, getting stuff ready for the yard sale. I watched the new Little Mermaid again.
I haven't seen it.
She's got legs, you idiot. That's my favorite. David Diggs is amazing.
He's so good at any role he has. He is so good.
He is. And honestly, I thought I was going to hate Aquafina as Scuttle, but I also love her and
Yeah.
everything that she does.
Have you seen Ocean's 8 or 11? No, 8.
Yes.
It's 8. Ocean's 8. That's
The
it.
one with the women. Yes, I've seen
Yeah.
it.
I haven't seen any other Ocean 8 and everyone's like, "Oh, you have to see the other ones to see this one." No.
No, I've only seen
I
that one.
understood everything. This
Yep.
is just the sister of a family of crime doers. That's all I needed.
Yep.
I don't give a shit about their family.
No,
She got out of
don't
prison. That's
care.
all I needed to know. Thanks.
Yep.
You're ruining. No, I'm not. This is a good movie with or without knowing anything else. So,
Agreed.
anyways, okay. Okay. The last location, or like the last thing that we're going to talk about, like another place of uh, mermaid lore, is Western Europe. So France, Germany, Hungary, all of those places have like their own accounts of this. I don't know how to say it. Melusine, I think. It's a feminine spirit. And it's actually found in a lot of the medieval European folk tales. So any of our listeners over in those locations might know this, might know how to pronounce it better than I can. It has a serpent or a fish's tail, and sometimes has wings. What? What are those things called? I feel like they're that's a. I feel like that's something from like the Greek world, but yeah, that's something from like the Greek world, not the fates. Harpies. It's like harpies. They're like harpies, but like without legs, with like a
Yeah.
yeah. Um, so like again, Hungary, France, and Germany all have different accounts of them. But there is the most famous legend describes her as a willful girl who tries to get revenge on her human father on behalf of her fairy mother, only to be punished by her mother with a tail. Damn,
Hmm.
mom, that's fucked up.
Right?
I was trying to help you out. Damn. Anyways, so some of the origins of mermaids are like the first known writings, I guess, of mermaids had they go all the way back to the Mesopotamian. So archaeologists have actually found accounts of mermaids um, back in the Mesopotamian mythology because it involves a male fish god. So mythology around mermaids have been around for over 5,000 years.
Nice.
Um, One of the earliest mermaid legends appeared in Syria around 1000 BC when the goddess Atargatis dove into a lake to take the form of a fish. As the gods would not allow her to give up her great beauty, only her bottom half became a fish, but she kept her top half in human form. Um, Archaeologists have found this figure on ancient temple statues and coins. Um, so yeah, that's pretty cool. Um, and again, I said earlier, some people believe that they're lucky, and other people believe that they're not lucky. It really, really, really just depends on what side of the coin you are. So, like, some sailors believe they're good fortune, others say they're disaster. So, it really just depends on that. Um, so, and when you're secluded on a ship, I mean, a lot of the time that it's not surprising that you're going to get a lot of those superstitions. It's not surprising you're going to get a lot of those beliefs, especially when you are traveling wherever. Like if you're in a location, like if you're in the north long term, like you're going to get those superstitions and those stories. You got to pass the time somehow. And then there's also like unpredictable weather. So like if you see something out in the middle of the ocean and you're like, what is that? And you start questioning yourself, like your brain makes things up, like you start thinking about everything and all the possibilities, and all of a sudden the next day you have this, like it just incurs like fright and fear, and so then you get superstition, whether you want to believe it or not. Will would be so proud of that answer. um, but because of they are depicted as beautiful maidens and seductive maidens, um, many believe that they are, because of that, they are good luck charms. They are the women, the things that could do it. And but on the off chance they've dragged men under for less. So it really just depends. And it's just so funny too, because like the same sailors that would sit there and say that, like, oh, mermaids are bad luck, like it talks of disaster. It's like, bitch, your ship's got a mermaid on the front.
Right?
What do you mean? Your figurehead is a fucking mermaid.
Right?
I it's I don't know, but whatever. But anyways, so the last thing I really want to talk about are what is the difference between, well, maybe the last thing, I don't know. I'll figure out here in a second. This thing wasn't loading earlier, so there was like a couple of things I wanted to look at and I didn't get a chance to. So what is the difference between a siren and a mermaid? So according to the early Greek mythology, sirens were half women, half bird creatures and are often confused with mermaids, which is so weird. Not weird, but in I think I think it was Baldur's Gate. I don't know. It was a game that I played recently. Um and I actually had to fight sirens, and it they were, I swear to God, I was fighting a pigeon with a human head. I don't know what I don't remember what game I was playing, but I was playing a game where I think it was Baldur's Gate because it was like a turn based game. But yeah, they're like half women, half bird creatures. But it's so yeah, so it's funny. But some people are like confusing them with mermaids, because I think there's a Greek myth where it's like, oh, I heard beautiful singing and all I could see was a beautiful maiden off on the shore and I wanted to go to it and like we crashed our ship. I think it's because like you hear it and it makes your brain, like, I think the whole point of it is to like you see not danger, like it's a red herring, it's you're supposed to go towards it.
Right.
So I think that's where like the problem is, like people don't actually see what it truly is over there. But like, I mean, also nobody understands old English translations of an ancient
Yeah.
language that is not necessarily around anymore. So take it as with what you will. um but sirens were also always used as being like malicious, dangerous creatures, not necessarily, or like the more seductive. So
Yeah.
it's like fairies in the Fae. It's like
Yeah.
fairies, you think Tinkerbell. Fae, it's like Akatar. It's
Yeah.
like sirens, Akatar, mermaids, fairies. That like
Yeah.
that's basically it.
Yeah.
That's what it is. Oh, it is Homer's epic poem, The Odyssey. I knew I fucking read it somewhere. I was like, I knew it. I read it. In the Odyssey, he ties himself to the mast because he hears the song of the sirens, and he's like, nope, we're not going that way. Because he wants to hear it, but he doesn't want to ruin himself. I knew it. I was like, I just, it's been a while. Okay. It's been a while. But anyway, so you can see mermaids depicted in a lot of art. So like the Little Mermaid in the movies, in the book by Hans Christian Andersen. There's a lot of ships, like armada ships that have mermaids in the figureheads. There's a lot of illustrations from like the early like 1500s that have it in there as well. Um, there's a couple of actual paintings from the 1800s that have like How to Catch a Mermaid basically in it. Um, there's also a couple like, it's not it depicts um it depicts like mermaids around like a ship, and like they see the ship like looking, it honestly it reminds me of like a Greek myth because it's got like giants in the back like ready to tear down on like these Catholic people. But yeah, so mermaids are here, there, and everywhere, and they've been around for thousands of years, whether people like to believe it or not. So if you thought Hans Christian Andersen made up the mermaid, you are sorely mistaken. Well, that was fun.
Yeah.
I learned a lot of things.
That was
Okay.
really interesting.
Yeah. Okay. Anyways, whew, until next time.
Bye.